Hello. In this video, we will review the anatomy or parts of an academic social scientific research article. Before we begin, you may want to make sure that you have a copy of the article that I will be using as an example. It is titled, Liking Them Thin, Adolescents' Favorite Television Characters and Body Image. It should be included in the materials for this unit. Reading these types of articles can be challenging at first, but the more you begin to understand the theory and methods that guide the research in your field, the easier reading these articles will become. A first step toward that goal is learning to recognize the distinctive parts of a research project and how they are documented in the written article. It is important to keep in mind that no two articles are written exactly the same, but we can review common practices and touch on when and why some articles might be structured a little differently. Let's begin. Most social scientific articles contain the following common elements: a title, author information, an abstract, an introduction, a method section, results, discussion, conclusion, references, and sometimes an appendix. Let's look at our example to take a closer look at each of these sections. Okay, so this article is from the Journal of Health Communication. Most scholarly journals, like this one, are peer-reviewed, which means the research articles found in them have to be approved by experts in the field before they are accepted for publication. If a study is peer-reviewed, you can be reasonably confident that it is quality research. No study is perfect, however, so as we review each portion of the study, I will point out some things for you to consider in assessing a study's strengths and weaknesses. Before we dig in, though, I want to point out these little yellow boxes that I have added. When you go back to review this article later, you can point to each box for comments that complement the points I make in this video. So here. Okay. So this article includes each of the common elements that we overviewed. First, we have the title of the article. This title follows fairly standard conventions. Note that it starts with a catchy pop culture-oriented phrase, followed by a colon. Liking them thin, colon. Academics love titles with colons. The part after the colon is more academic and fairly specific in identifying the concepts that are studied in the article, in this case, adolescents' favorite television characters and body image. The authors and their institutions are identified here. Some articles will include brief bios. Most, like this one, will also include specific contact information right here, in case readers have questions or want more detailed information. Next is the abstract. The abstract is typically a long paragraph that includes a summary of the entire article. This is included so that readers can get quick insights on what the article is about, the type of study that was done, and what results were found. This is extremely helpful when you are trying to sort through a large body of research on a topic. The abstract should make reading the article easier because it helps you know what to look for. Next is the introduction. Sometimes it is labeled, but often it is not. Here you will see there's no heading, kind of starts the article off. The length of the introduction may vary from only a paragraph or two to several pages, depending upon where the article is published. As the name implies, the introduction introduces the topic of the research, emphasizes the significance of the issues, and the need for investigation. When you read an article, consider whether you feel that the introduction is convincing. Now, most studies will include a literature review of relevant theory and previous research related to the topic. This may be included either as part of the introduction or in separate sections that follow. In this case, you can see that separate subheads are included that identify the topics that will be reviewed. So here we see a first subhead, the role of media in body image perceptions. Note that there are specific style guidelines for how sources are cited. This study uses APA, where the author and year is cited in the body of the paper, which is common, but other studies might use different styles that use footnotes or other documentation styles. So you can see here Hawks 2007. So all of these authors are indicated, and then the year the study was published after that. I'm going to move down here to the section that says Theoretical Framework. All right. Not all articles will label this so clearly, but you should always look to see if and how specific theories are applied to the study. Consider whether you feel the theories are applied are appropriate, and whether you can think of any other theories that might complement or challenge rationales that are offered. Note that both cognitive theory, social cognitive theory, and social comparison theories, two prominent communication theories, are applied in this study. Here's social cognitive theory down here, social comparisons listed up here. If you have some familiarity with communication theories, you will likely be able to think of other theories that might be applied in a study of media effects on body image. It is usually not practical to review every single potentially relevant theory or past study in a single article. Still, you should consider whether you feel the authors have adequately reviewed and applied the most relevant theory and research, and whether there are other perspectives that should be considered. If you're planning to conduct a study of your own, anything that you felt was not addressed in an article could be something you might choose to focus on in your investigation. So we go through here, we see all this literature reviewed. Now, note that there are two hypotheses presented in the literature review, here and here. And there's also a research question down here. Hypotheses are used when the researchers feel that the literature supports fairly clear predictions. Researchers may pose questions when expectations are less clear. Some researchers may not state their purpose in formal questions or hypotheses at all. In those cases, you may have to read much more carefully to identify paragraphs or sentences that state what the authors hope to learn from doing the study. If you're not clear about what the study is designed to reveal, you will not be able to judge the value of the study's findings. So once the purpose of the study and sufficient background have been reviewed, the next section typically outlines the method that was used in the study. The introduction and literature review establishes the why of the studies being done, while the method section details who or what is being studied and when and how data was collected. So here's our method section here. The method section will typically begin by stating the type of study that is being done, in this case a questionnaire or survey. See that here. It will describe the subjects or participants of the study and how they were sampled and selected for the study. That's in this paragraph. It will also review the procedures or steps taken to collect the data. If the study involves human participants, it should detail the protocol followed to ensure their safety and rights are protected. That's in this paragraph here. Here, the sample and procedures are combined under one heading, sample and procedures, but often they are separated. The method should also explain the measures that were used to collect the data. That's here under measurement. In a survey study like this one, the measures include the questions that were asked on the questionnaire. In other studies, it might be other types of data. The researchers usually try to include enough detail so that readers can evaluate the measures and replicate them for use in their own studies. Most social scientific research focuses on quantitative data, so the measures must be designed in a way that will allow the data that is collected to be tabulated numerically. You will see that in this study, not all of the measurements used came from the questionnaire. Here we see measurements for favorite television characters. After the participants indicated who their favorite television character was, additional measurements were taken. Coders found 3 pictures for each character and coded the characters for body size, gender, and age. All of that is explained here. Finishes up there. In certain types of studies, more than one item might be used to measure a concept. For example, in this study, participants' social comparison with television characters was measured through a combination of 6 questions that were asked on the questionnaire. These multi-item measures are often called scales. So we see that right here. Note that they adapted this measure from previous research, which is often the case. So you can see the study where they got the information that they used in this study. Here we see some statistical analysis reported that tests the reliability of the scales. Sometimes reliability is reported as it is here under measures. Other times it might be under a section called data reduction or included at the beginning of the results section. You do not need to worry too much about this analysis yet. The fact that the article was peer-reviewed means that experts felt that the scales were reliable. But just to give you a little context, a result of 1.0 or 100% would indicate perfect reliability, which never happens. But the more reliable the measure is, the better. So this decimal should be high. We see here a reliability of 0.78, which roughly translates as 78%, which is pretty good. Now, the subjects or sample, procedures, and measures won't always be as clearly labeled as they are in this study, but they should all be included somewhere in the method section. In experiments, the method section should also include information detailing the stimulus material that are used. In communication studies, this will often include media shown to participants during the study. It might show a movie, a television program, or some advertisements. This study is only a survey, though. Although people were asked about their favorite media characters, they are not shown anything in the study, so there isn't any stimulus material to report. Once we've gone through the methods section, next we have results. The results focus on statistical analysis of the data that was collected. The main purpose of this analysis is to test the hypotheses or answer the questions that were posed. However, there is often some initial analysis that is reported first. As noted, there may be some data reduction or reliability analysis related to the measures that is first. There also may be some descriptive or summary analysis of the data that offers insights on the nature of the sample or general trends in the measurements that were collected. Often this might include demographic information regarding participants in the study. This can be helpful for judging how representative the sample was for the population of interest. In this study, general descriptive analysis is offered for the types of characters people selected. Recall that coders found pictures of the favorite characters indicated on the survey and analyzed them to determine body size, gender, and age. So here they report some general summary statistics, frequencies, and averages. So we see characters average 4.01 on the 9-point body size scale. And then we see down here nearly half the respondents, 49.20%, chose characters classified as average in body size. So we can see a bunch of descriptive information about those characters here. The results should include specific analysis that addresses the research questions or hypotheses that are proposed for the study. So we can see that here, starts in here, hypothesis 1, hypothesis 2. Tests are done to determine if the results that were found are statistically significant. Statistical significance refers to the likelihood that the results found were due to random chance rather than due to the relationships that were hypothesized. Again, the specifics of this analysis is reported for the experts. You do not need to worry too much about it at this point, as the key results will be explained in the discussion section. As a general guideline, however, the main statistics that people look at is the p-value. Like right here, p-value less than 0.05. In this case, you are looking for small values. You want there to be less than a 5% chance that results are not representative of the population. A value of less than 0.05 means that the relationship is significant. So a higher value, even if it is close, like 0.08, would mean that no relationship was supported, while a value of 0.02 would mean that a relationship was supported. If you aren't well versed in inferential statistics, it will likely seem counterintuitive for a lower value to be better. Don't be too concerned if you don't understand this all yet. For now, you can just skim through and practice looking for those p-values. Let's give it a try. So we see a p less than 0.05 here. That means the relationship is significant. We see down here another p-value of less than 0.05, which is also significant. But down here we see one that's 0.21. That's higher than 0.05, and so that relationship is not significant. Another one that's not significant at 0.21. But then down here again we see more significant values again. Note that this is 0.001, which is much lower than 0.05. So that's significant, as is 0.01, 0.001 again, 0.001. You'll note that many of these relationships are significant, which is not surprising because if nothing was significant, the study probably wouldn't have been published. Okay, so now we can move on. and we hit the discussion section. If you were lost in the results section, the discussion section should help clarify everything. This section offers a narrative that explains the results of the study. Again, any research questions or hypotheses should be specifically addressed. If the results confirmed expectations, this section may be fairly short. But if findings were unexpected, the researchers may spend some time speculating why. The researchers will also note the implications of the findings for the field of study. Again, this section should be really solid in a peer-reviewed study. But as you gain a better grasp of theory, methods, and statistics, you can read this section more critically to see if you feel the researchers offered the best interpretation of the study's findings. So here we have quite a bit of discussion, goes through reviewing the results and their interpretation of them. The article usually ends with a conclusion that summarizes the study's findings and its value for the field. The authors will also often discuss the limitations of the study and suggestions for future research in this section or under separate headings. So here we see, in this case, there's conclusions. They do the limitations first. So this section talks about limitations of the study design, and here we see some suggestions for future research, and then they just kind of conclude with some general summary statements of the study and its value. Last, well, not quite last, but here, next we have the reference section. Most studies include a reference section with full citations for all of the research discussed in the literature review. It can be helpful to consult this if you're looking for more research on a topic. Go through that there. And in this study, last, we do have an appendix. In journals, there often isn't room for appendices, but this study does have a short one which includes a full list of the questions of the social comparison scale that was used in the study. So you see all those here. Appendices are more common in longer academic reports, such as theses or dissertations. They might include copies of consent forms, surveys that were used, additional data tables, and other documentation. And that's it. I would encourage you to spend some time on your own reviewing the articles that we dissected in this video. And don't forget to click on the yellow boxes for more insights. Thanks for watching.